Dear students, in the last class I have given a plot summary of the whole story that is happening in the epic Paradise Lost. Let us now focus our attention on book number 1 of Paradise Lost, lines 1 to 798. So, book 1 almost consists of nearly 800 lines, and I have said before that the background story is over, that is, the war between God and evil angels is over, and Satan along with his evil angels is thrown into the hell by God, and now they are suffering in the hell, and how they raise back to the powerful position and how they create their own temple in the hell is all given in book number 1. So this sets the stage for taking revenge against God, which is completed later in book number 9. In brief, I will first tell what all happens. So this book is all about lots of descriptions. First 26 lines I have already said, that is kept for invocation and prayer. Then line number 34 to 53, it is about the chief villainous character Satan and his impious war against heaven against God in heaven, and how they all fall into the hell. Next, further there are some speeches by Satan in the hell, and these speeches constitute major part of book 1. He keeps on trying to motivate his fellow angels, fallen angels, to fight against God. It is more like cheering up the fellow members. Further, there is Beelzebub's speech. Beelzebub is his next in command. Then there are descriptions of other angels who join the list, like Mulciber, Mammon, and many others. There are some lines dedicated to the description of Satan's huge size and monstrous shape. There are also lines which describe God's mercy towards others. Later, there is again Satan's speech, line number 242 to 270. You have to read the text, then you will understand how it has been distributed into these many parts. So line number 242 to 270 is amazing speech by Satan made in hell, in which he speaks about the importance of being a king and not being a servant. Further, there are descriptions of the other angels who are now fallen in the hell in very pitiable condition. Later, there are some lines, line number 335 to 364. All the angels, all the fallen angels start gathering at the command of Satan, and how they come with renewed strength. Here in these lines there are some geographical details, and then further Milton goes on giving various details of the angels that come in order out of that burning lake of the hell, one by one: Moloch, Chemos, Baalim, Ashtoreth, Tammuz, Dagon, Rimmon, Orisis, Isis, Horus, and Belial. These are some of the important fellow members of Satan's army who join at the command of Satan. Then this is how the lines further go on describing how the strength of Satan is increasing with the increasing number of people joining in his army, even in the hell. So he is shown as a determined person, determined angel to take revenge against God. Line number 690 to 704, there are descriptions of various metals, precious stones and ores that were digged out by the evil angels in the hell, and they were digging them out to create a temple of their own. And later there is the description of how Mulciber, the architect among the evil angels, helps them in building the temple, and how it is named Pandemonium. These descriptions are given, keeping Mulciber at the focus. Line number 768 till the end of book number 1, there is the description of how when the temple Pandemonium is created, all the evil angels start gathering inside the temple in multitudes. They are more than 10,000 in number. They are a huge mass. How they enter the temple Pandemonium? By reducing their size. So there are lots of interesting descriptions about the strange magical powers of angels, or rather the fallen angels. So this is how we need to remember that there are some key aspects to remember in book number 1. One is there are lots of descriptions about hell. Hell is described. Second, Satan, an enemy of God. How in multiple ways he has the feelings of rivalry against God, and how he is a determined fighter, trying to avenge the gods. Then the important aspect is Satan's motivational speeches. Now this is the word motivational here does not refer to motivation for good things. He is rather motivating his own soldiers in such a positive way, but to do a negative act, that is to fight against good or God. He is motivating them to go against God, to go against someone who is good. Then another important aspect we need to remember is descriptions of Satan's followers. His companions, his friends, they are in order like Beelzebub, Mammon, Ashtoreth. I have already spoken about them in brief. We will be discussing them later in detail. Another next point is how they creation of Pandemonium, or construction of Pandemonium, the temple of evil angels in the hell. So these are some of the most important aspects that are told in the story of book number 1. Now this is the content. Okay, I have not spoken yet about the details of it, or rather what are the other themes. This is the content, major content. If we go on dividing the content and classifying them, we can have these 5 important categories. So this is how is book 1 constructed by John Milton in Paradise Lost. First, let us focus on the, I will not be reading all the lines because it will be difficult to explain all the lines together, but I will be reading some of the important lines, some of the important stanzas in the, there is no stanza division rather, but we can say lines, it is counted in terms of lines because it is a old form of poetry in blank verse. So I would like to read the first 26 lines for you and then describe in detail what is this all about. Line number 1 to 26, as I have already said, is all about invocation. Invocation is a sort of prayer, and this is one of the most important epic conventions used by many writers and followed by John Milton in his poem Paradise Lost. It is believed that before beginning any good work, we take the blessings of God. In the same way, many poets, ancient poets of Indian epics as well, they have the tradition of saluting the God before starting their work of art. That's how we usually have the invocation to Lord Ganesha or Goddess Saraswati in the beginning of Indian epics. In the same way, since it is the topic of God's, justifying the ways of God to men, of course, God is the hero of this poem Paradise Lost. Milton starts the poem with his prayer. I will read the lines. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world, and all our woe with loss of Eden, till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. In these lines, in first 5 lines, we hear, the story of the whole epic is given in extremely brief format. What is the story is all about? Of man's first disobedience. So the act of eating the fruit was against the will of God. So he calls it as this was the first act of disobedience by man to God. And what is the other content of this poem? And the fruit of that forbidden tree, the tree of knowledge, whose mortal taste brought death into the world. So this is the story about man's first disobedience, how he ate that fruit from the tree of knowledge, and how that fruit brought death into the human world and all our woe. It is not just the death that came into the world, but all our pains came when Adam and Eve ate the fruit of knowledge, which was forbidden, with loss of Eden. And further, this original sin led to the loss of Eden. Eden is the garden, and that is how the title comes, Paradise Lost. Lost by whom? Lost not by God, but lost by man, because man made this original sin, committed this original sin and lost the paradise which was meant for him actually to enjoy. So, with loss of Eden, till one greater man, this comes in book number 12, when Jesus Christ comes, he takes birth, and this is how peace and happiness is restored on this earth. Restore us and regain the blissful seat. So till Jesus comes, there was all pain. There is all pain. Only when he comes, all our pains will be resolved. That is what he says in the beginning 5 lines. And the whole story of Paradise Lost is about all these things. So as a wise poet, he has tried to give us a nutshell of the whole story. What is going to happen in the whole poem of Paradise Lost is told in brief in 5 lines by John Milton. This is like introduction to the topic of the poem. Further, now in the first 5 lines, he has presented the topic. He has told us what will be the subject matter of the poem. In the first 5 lines, he has told about that. Then, further in the next lines, he requests gods and goddesses to inspire him to write poetry. We have the tradition in Europe that usually a goddess called Muse. The word music comes from this word, Muse. Muse is god of poetry or goddess of poetry and music. So if you want to write poetry, you have to invoke, you have to pray to this goddess. She will bless you, inspire you to write a poem, which can be later set to music. So he is now praying to the Muse. And which kind of muse is this? Sing, heavenly Muse, that on the secret top of Horeb or of Sinai didst inspire that shepherd who first taught the chosen seed in the beginning how the heavens and earth rose out of chaos. Or if Sion hill delight thee more, and Siloah's brook that flowed fast by the oracle of God. So how is this muse? This muse has inspired many great poets, many shepherds that created great poetry. That shepherd did inspire that shepherd who first taught this chosen seed in the beginning and told the story of the origin of earth and all these things. So his muse is the God himself, because the God inspired poets to write about the beginning of earth and heaven and hell. I thence invoke thy aid to my adventurous song. Now he is telling how this song or Paradise Lost, his own epic, is not like the other epics. For him, for John Milton himself, it is an adventurous song. He feels as if he is doing an adventure because the topic that he has chosen is difficult and it is very adventurous for him. Adventurous, when we say adventure, usually adventures are not done by ordinary men, and mostly they are the first timers who try to do something new. And here our poet John Milton is trying to do something new, because till now nobody had written an epic on the theme of or the story of Bible. So that is why he calls it an adventurous song. Further, that with no middle flight intends to soar. This song, he is so confident of his scholarship that he says, my song is adventurous, but it will be definitely a success, because that with no middle flight intends to soar above the Aeonian mount, while it pursues things unattempted, yet in prose or rhyme. Why is this so special for John Milton? Here the speaker is John Milton himself. John Milton becomes the speaker and is trying to speak to the muse, to the god of poetry. What is he desiring for? He is desiring for God's help in writing the poem, because this poem is adventurous. This kind of story has never been told either in prose or in poetry, nor things unattempted yet in prose or rhyme. And chiefly thou, O Spirit, that dost prefer before all temples the upright heart and pure, instruct me. And how is this God? He says, God is that great spirit for whom temple is not required. Pure heart of a person can become a temple for such a spirit, and he wants to take inspiration from such a Holy Spirit, that is God. Thou from first wast present. Why is he trying to pray to this God to help him? Because he believes in the omnipresence of God, omniscience of God, because he knows God was present in the beginning, God is present now, and God will be present later as well. So God knows everything, and when you get knowledge from the one who knows everything, you will be full, your knowledge will be completed. That is why he is seeking help, he is asking for help, he is requesting for help from such a muse, such a God. Muse, for him, muse is none other than the God himself. Then there is one beautiful line which can be always considered as a prayer. He makes it thus here: what in me is dark, illumine; what is low, raise and support. This shows the humble nature of the poet John Milton. He doesn't say, I know everything, that is why I am writing this poem. In fact, he is accepting that he is humble, he doesn't know many things, although he knows certain things, and with the help of God he may know everything and write the poetry absolutely in a great manner. That is why he believes that there is some darkness even in his heart, so he asks that God to illumine. What in me is dark, illumine. You throw light upon my heart, my mind, which will be illumined with the knowledge. What is low, raise and support. This shows the simplicity of poet John Milton, that to the height is height. Height of this great argument, I may assert eternal providence and justify the ways of God to men. Why am I seeking your help? Because I am doing your work. He believes, even the Indian epics which speak about the story of Rama, which speak about the story of Krishna, even in the beginning there, they invoke the same Lord because they believe that they are doing a good work for the society by telling them the story of God himself. In the same way, John Milton is making a prayer and telling the God, why am I doing this prayer? Why am I praying you? Why do I need your providence? Because I am going to justify ways of God to men. I am going to show how God has been always helpful, kind, loving to the human being, and I will be dealing with this kind of a theme, this kind of a story in this book. Therefore, I need your assistance. This is how he completes his invocation in from line 1 to line 26. First, he presents the topic in brief, then he requests the muse to invoke him. Then in the third part, he speaks how his poem is an adventurous song, because such kind of topic was never dealt with by any epic writer, and he is doing it for the first time. And later he is also telling the purpose of this prayer. This prayer is not because I am doing some creative work, but this work will justify the ways of God to men, and men and women, the people on the earth will understand the significance of God's divine providence. So this is the invocation part of Paradise Lost. Nothing much about story is explained in invocation. It is like a Nandi in the dramas or preface in the novels, which tries to give a sort of introduction to the whole epic, what kind of thing it might be. So it evokes curiosity as well. So now I have completed the first part of book number 1, that is invocation. In the upcoming lectures, we will speak in detail about the further lines coming in book number 1. Thank you so much.